Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT Rostermania, and a key piece of drama emerging over the past couple of days between some of the pro players, with many suggesting that just because some of these pros have got their contracts, they've signed their tier 1 deals, does not mean they're putting in all the time required. Vanity certainly believes that some of these pro players are slacking off hard just because they've got that tier 1 contract and will be replaced very shortly in due course. Very much into your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Just thought I'd mention this as well because a wall bang on Ascent that I haven't really seen too much of before, as CMD comes up here, sees these couple of guys, just wall bangs both of them through the wall. I thought it was kind of remarkable, to be honest. Now, a few Rostermania things to discuss. Firstly, this from TenZ, of course, a very known player on the crew esports team, did some really phenomenal things in 2021, I think, at the World Championship. He's actually retiring from competitive play, though, and is going to continue his studies in mining engineering. So remarkable stuff, but yeah, he won't compete this season because he wants to complete his degree, I suppose. So really cool stuff. Hopefully he can return in due course. Thought he was a fantastic player, but it's kind of a remarkable story coming out from yesterday. This quickly from BBL as well. There's obviously a lot of these teams have either yet to confirm or should be confirming soon, and some announcements, I'm surprised, haven't arrived as yet. But BBL actually say here that one of their players, AIM DDL, has actually asked to evaluate further offers that will come to him. So he's eventually asked to be open to offers to potentially leave, and he reckons that if any offers are coming through, then, you know, here we go. So pretty cool and open of BBL to actually announce this and say, look, if you got any offers for us, let us know at this particular email address. But one of their players is definitely looking to leave. Let's talk about Nats quickly, because we expect Nats and Redgar to kind of join forces over at Team Liquid. Now, where Nats is flying to right now, who knows? Is he going to fly to Amsterdam for the Liquid head offices? That's a big question. But yeah, I'm still surprised that some of these teams haven't confirmed their rosters. You know, the likes of NRG and even Liquid and Fnatic haven't yet confirmed Chronicle, stuff like this. Even though we know it's happening, we don't yet have the confirmations. Of course, the teams also have to sign a 6th man, which is a big question. And so I do wonder if these teams are thinking about whether a 6th man can actually play in the challenger side in the tier 2 scene. Because if they can't, then will they actually want to join as a substitute? Just because if you are one of these players that we'll see Vanity mention here in a second, and you're targeting a tier 1 spot, are you going to get a tier 1 spot by being a sub, or are you going to get a tier 1 spot by being a tier 2 dominant force and then getting signed by a top team anyway and brought in place of the sub? That's a big question, because if, let's say, Sentinels, obviously their sub is sick, but you know, if he doesn't play in tier 2, then he can't necessarily prove himself if they do want to make a change, and Sentinels might be more inclined to bring in another player from tier 2 who actually has that experience anyway. So bit of an interesting question that I think Riot still have to answer into. And just to say this also, because we think that Immy, who is currently still at the Valorant coach for version 1, but the rumor has it he's going to be going to join G2 to build up their tier 2 project in North America. And as Steel says here, you know, what are the odds of IGLing that roster? I'll ask him, right? So yeah, Steel, obviously with that tenure on T1, there were some questions whether Steel would stay, whether he'd go. Turns out he's gone for the team. He was trying his best on Duolingo to learn Korean, but didn't work out for him, unfortunately, and he gets dropped from the team. And you would think that the likes of Steel and others, and ShahZaM, of course, we talked about, you know, dapr, Zoms, all these players, if they want to go down the tier 2 route, they will need to get it sorted relatively quickly, you would imagine. And but, you know, thankfully, from their perspective, there are more organizations coming on the scene. We don't know what OpTic are doing. Are OpTic going to have a tier 2 team? We have no idea. Like, you know, FaZe will be, but they'll be keeping some of their former players. But G2, though, that's a completely blank slate from G2's organizational perspective. They're coming to North America. They're going to build a team from the ground up, and they're going to get as many good players as they can. Probably, you know, who knows about BCJ, just because G2 were going to sign the entire exit team, but you know, of course, it fell through because they failed to get the partnership spot. So a lot of the exit guys went their own separate ways, to 100 Thieves, to of course Sentinels, it turned out, with Zekken and Dephh, and now that leaves BCJ in a bit of a no man's land situation where potentially G2 could still step in for him, but of course they need an IGL. Maybe it still could be that guy. Just to mention quickly, because actually there are a lot of organizations that are involved in the Overwatch League that already have Valorant teams, right? You look at Cloud9, the Spitfire, you know, Oxygen with Boston Uprising, Gen.G with the Seoul Dynasty, all this type of stuff. And the two organizations we saw yesterday were the Shanghai Dragons and the Washington Justice potentially coming in. And of course, they probably wouldn't come in as the Washington Justice or whatever. They'd come in with the ownership group forming another team. So that's the thing you don't need, and you probably wouldn't have an actual organizational city name in Valorant because it's not necessary. It's more likely to be a relationship kind of like you guys see here on the left-hand side. Quick bit of drama between Sabrosa and Ethos I thought was pretty funny, but it kind of leads up up to the whole talking point that's been big the last few days about, well, how seriously pros are taking practice. Even during the Rostermania period, many pros were saying, well, look, the practice quality in North America has fallen off a cliff. Lots of pros are taking time off for the off-season, which does, of course, make sense, but at the same time, like, look, a lot of pros would say you've got to be committed. This is your chance. This is franchising. This is a very committed league. It's difficult to get into it, and if you are into it and you're not giving your all, you're going to get replaced in very short order indeed. There was even this a few days ago between King FPS and Flyer, still currently FaZe Flyer, who, as he says here, unbinding my Ghoski, sorry to all the fans, coming back stronger. And as King says, this is more about how you guys acted that entire scrim and the level of maturity you're showing. The ghost spam was only a part of it. You guys are professional players, and showing up to a scrim 10 minutes late, then acting the way you did is childish. That's what this is about. I mean, I'm generally sorry for everything I did. It was childish, but at the same time, you tweeting about it is over the top, and literally buying AWP and Odin only last round, when every round we're actually doing planned stuff is like, whatever, I'm over it, I don't have anything, and etc, etc. So yeah, kind of classic North American Valorant drama, but effectively it seems to be that the FaZe guys turned up to a scrim a little bit late, were just ghosting around the map and basically just taking the mic, not really giving King and his boys good practice, and then drama kind of comes as a consequence. And this kind of leads into the whole idea that the quality of practice in North America has rather fallen off a cliff. But is it just for tier 2, or is it also for tier 1? This is Vanity's kind of key statement he makes last night, and I thought this was quite divisive maybe in a way. The quality of grammar here isn't perfect, but I'll try to do my best to kind of fill in the blanks. Why do these pros who got signed, why are they acting like they aren't going to get kicked if they perform badly in the Champions Tour 2023? Instead of getting better, they just play Overwatch. Ascension is more hype and competitive, and I hope that the Ascension pros like Trent, BCJ, Net, Xander, EU Tex will replace them soon. So this is the statement here from Vanity, saying that many of these pros that have just been signed into tier 1 and have kind of got blessed by a spot, it's very competitive to get into tier 1, obviously, and some of these guys that arguably just got signed, are they really giving their all to be the best player they can be? You could very much argue, like, look, we've got so many months off at this point. The next season begins in February, right? Like the Sao Paulo event is mid-February to early March or something. Like, it's a long time away. The pros might understandably take a few months off, or a couple of months off, maybe just play a bit of Overwatch or whatever. But at the same time, like, I'm sure Cloud9 want to get some practice in with the new team. They want to keep up with the meta. They want to develop and iterate and, still play scrims and practice and not wait around and take any time off. And Vanity sees other pros that have just been signed slacking off, playing Overwatch on stream, all this type of stuff, not really giving their all to be the best player they can be. And, it's an argument to be making. Is it worth it taking a month of kind of not doing so much Valorant stuff to then come back with the fire? Or is it worth grinding all the time to be the best player you can be and keep up with the meta as much as you can? I don't know. It's an interesting trade-off there. The teams and the pros and the kind of coaches will have to make their mind up on that. But Vanity is targeting certain players and saying, well, look, you guys aren't so committed as you need to be. You're getting a bit too cocky with this opportunity, and therefore guys like Trent, BCJ, Net, Xander, EU Tex are going to replace you very soon when you don't perform in the Champions Tour 2023. And that is certainly true, that players in tier 2 will be eyeing up these spots. Now, what do you guys think about this from Zekken? Just because Zekken is, of course, he's a bit of a jokester, right? This guy, he fits very well with the Sentinels culture, I think, as well. And of course, he also is a top player, but as he says, if I knew nothing about Overwatch but have good aim, could I theoretically play Cassidy and Sojourn to a high rank, or do I actually need to learn what other people in the game do? And Psycho here says in the replies, this is not what I meant when I said use the off-season to expand your agent pool, and then as he says, at this point, all that's left to learn is Euro and Astra, so I got bored. So, obviously, I think they're just joking around here, right? I mean, they are to a certain degree, but, is Psycho looking at this and thinking, damn, this guy, get back on Valorant, grind with the team, don't just be playing Overwatch and learning that stuff, it's time to be fully committed to Valorant because, you got blessed by this spot on Sentinels, it's time to take things serious. And I think personally it's early days, it's kind of off-season time at the moment. I don't really mind the pros taking a few months off, really, or a few weeks off at least, to play a bit of Overwatch and chill out a little bit, but at the same time the team needs to get their chemistry together quickly, and Sentinels have problems to solve in a sense because they've got the language barrier in these questions. So if there's any team that needs to be putting in the time, Sentinels are probably going to be that team. And Vanity is certainly saying, not necessarily directly to Zekken, but to other pros in Zekken's position, that look, you guys are playing Overwatch when you should be grinding the game. You are going to get replaced very soon indeed by even the likes of babybay, right? There's him, of course. He's over at FaZe. We still believe he's going to be at FaZe for the near future as well. But players of babybay's caliber are like, well, they're not signed into partnerships, and there are many players that are certainly capable of getting into that position that are not in the partnership league. That of course, they're going to be grinding harder than some of the guys that are actually in there, right? A lot of people, they may get into into tier 1 and they think, yes, I've made it, fantastic. What they don't know is that in 3 months, 4 months time, they're going to get replaced by a guy who's trying harder in tier 2 and is an equally talented player. So that is the question that is being raised right now. Just to mention quickly before we close out on Chamber, because of course the state of Chamber affects massively what everything looks like for next season, what roles people play, all this type of stuff. When Chet had Ye on his team and he was the OpTic coach, was he saying to nerf Chamber so much? I don't really know, but he's certainly saying it now. And look, they've got Artist, we believe it's still arguably top 2 Chamber in the world after Ye anyway from the FPX team, so makes sense what NRG are building over there. And we think they've got Artist, as I say, still not yet confirmed. Some talking points on what you do to nerf Chamber though, right? Because we saw the other day that many have said, well, can you really nerf Chamber? Because if you do take away his kind of key utility, the teleports, then, you know, he just becomes way too weak. They tried to nerf him a bit. The reality is, didn't really affect it too much. Chamber was still used massively, and it makes sense as to why. The other question is, do you just up the ultimate points? This is one thing that they could do rather easily, like put the ultimate points all the way up to 10. That'd be quite the stretch, of course, from where it is now, but maybe that's one thing that they could try. Leaf says, trust me, bro, I've been trying as well to get things nerfed as well in terms of the Chamber sides, but yeah, is that a step you'd like to see? Because tweaking Chamber's abilities hasn't really helped too much in terms of bringing his utility down. And in fairness, other pros have mentioned that having Chamber as a staple agent is actually good for the scene because it enables other agent combinations to be viable. If Chamber wasn't viable, then there's other things you wouldn't be able to do in terms of where you set up your agent kind of meta, but with Chamber always being there pretty much, it can give you more options in terms of what agents you run because you don't maybe need the Sentinel and all this type of stuff. So there's some questions going around about this, but yes, a Chamber nerf is being called for more and more by the day. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.